I'm coming into today's video feeling very excited after having had successfully launched week 1 of our free life coaching program. If you're only joining me for the first time, hi and welcome. Welcome to week 2, where we are going to be exploring goal setting methodologies. If you're only joining me for the first time, welcome to our free life coaching program titled Envisioning the Next Decade. The key intention for this particular program is to help you to reflect and, most importantly, think on what it is you want for the next decade. The key word that I'd want for you to keep top of mind is structure and clarity. I guess the two keywords that you need to keep top of mind. But if you are joining me for the first time, welcome. Pause this video and go back to my profile and look for the first 2 videos that were a precursor to this video, where we launched the program, and then also where we did a session where we wanted to understand our goals better. But if you are a returning viewer for this particular series, welcome back. How was week 1? How are you feeling? Coming into week 2 of the program, we will be here for 8 weeks, and I will say to you that the 8 weeks is going to come and go very quickly. So I want to encourage you to take time to register. If you haven't, click on the registration button so that you are able to download our free workbook titled Envisioning the Next Decade, where week in, week out, for each topical issue that we are going to be talking about, with every week there is a reflection guide for that particular week, where you are going to be able to review from Monday to Sunday, reflecting on what it is I was discussing, or taking you through the very obvious things that are out there, but then helping you to bring it down to your life. Before we get started, if you are a returning subscriber, you know we start with a sound check. So this is the sound check. So I want to start off by really congratulating everyone who participated in the program so far. If you have been able to complete week 1, so proud of you. Congratulations. I hope you will be able to pat yourself in the back for doing the work when it comes to really thinking about what it is you want and setting the tone for the next 10 years. In the previous video, we were taking time to understand goals, unpacking goals, and the key tool or takeaway that I gave to those who managed to complete is to start a goal journal. And in today's video, we are going to be going deeper. I think the key consideration was to set out what it is you'd want for the next 10 years, just making out a random list. But today we are going to give ourselves structure to then answer the question to say, but how does a goal, or how do my goals have to look like, right? And I'd want for you to really think about it from this perspective coming into this video, to then say, look, businesses have strategies on how they execute on their goals, on their day-to-day targets, on their annual targets against how they performed the previous year. So I usually encourage my clients to then say, even for yourself, even more so for your life, do you have a strategy in terms of how you execute the different goals that you have set for yourself, right? Do you have a plan, right? So we've moved away from understanding the desire, the key things that you want, right? What we talked about when we were exploring understanding goals. And now we're moving to a place of now mapping out an execution plan to then say, how am I going to execute on my goals? And asking yourself the real questions, right? I think in business, the key thing that I've learned, having had worked in corporate for the past 7 years, is that every single minute matters, right? How you are moving and how you're servicing your clients actually contributes at the end of the day of what you get in terms of results. So every hour, every minute, every meeting matters. So even for yourself coming into the second week of the program, I'd want for you to really answer this question to say, do you have a strategy for your own life? And if the answer is no, that's all right, because we are going to be talking about 2 methodologies of looking at your goals and setting your goals and giving them structure. So let's get into the first method, which is the most popular one. But how I am going to be taking you through these two methodologies is really giving you the homework to then say, when you're looking at the SMART methodology, these are the key questions you're supposed to be asking yourself or ticking to say, but indeed, I have done this particular thing for this goal. And for those who were able to complete week 1, I'd want for you to take time to go back to that list of goals that you've outlined for yourself for the next 10 years, to then say, you know what, Gorata, for this particular goal, it was very dubious. To say, I'd say maybe be more healthy, right? You are going to find out today that that is not very specific. That's not very measurable. So we are going to be getting into the nitty gritty. And I don't have my notebook today. I have my laptop with me here, and I will be speaking to you, and taking you through these two key methodologies. So let's get into it. I feel like I'm rambling, but let's get into it. So the first methodology is the SMART Goals methodology, which I hope you have heard of, you've encountered in a book, in a TED Talk, on a YouTube, such as this one. But the SMART methodology is an acronym that allows you to form structure for your goals, right? And I think it's just then to say, like I shared earlier, to then say that you have a strategy so that you are more effective, so that you aren't wasting time, so that you aren't wasting your efforts or energy in terms of you executing on that particular goal. So for SMART goals, there is the S, the M, the A, the R, and the T. Like I said, it is an acronym, right? And the S stands for specific, right? Is your goal specific? What are you doing, right? If you were to give me that list of goals, would I be able to execute on that particular thing that you've outlined without having to call you and ask you, what are we doing here, right? So when we're looking at specificity, I'd want for you to define your goal clearly and precisely. Avoid vague statements and focus on what you want to accomplish. Remember, this is the first part of SMART. To then say, looking at my goals, is it vague or is it clear and is it precise, right? So if I was to ask you, where are you going for Christmas this year? You can then say to me, Gorata, I will be going to Greece on holiday. This is something that my friend wants to do, and I hope that she will be able to do it. God willing, right? To then say, I am going to Greece for Christmas, and I can ask you, when are you leaving? I'm leaving on the 21st. We'll be there for a few days before Christmas, and, right? But it's very precise. It's very clear. With that information, you are able to know that we are going to book a flight to Joburg. We are going to book a round trip flight all the way to Greece, if at all there is, and, right? But that specificity, what it's doing now to your mind as a piece of information, it's then saying, okay, great, you've given me this mold to say we're working with this, right? So what is it? If you do want to travel in the next year, where do you want to go? Let's be specific about it today, right? It's great that we've established what it is we want in the past week, but today we are going deeper to then say, but what is that particular thing? Where are we going? When are we going? Right? And I think it also, what it does to your mind is as well giving it the permission to then start generating, to then say, yep, this girl wants to go to Greece in December. How are we going to make that happen? Right? It's going to be asking you the right questions when you're now starting to spend your money, to budget your money, impulse spending. The key question would then be, how much is a plane ticket? And your mind will continually and subconsciously be working in the background to then challenge you and move you to a place where you are able to then unpack and try answer the question, what in this case, if at all we're saving for the plane ticket, you are able to now use your money, which is the resource in this case, use it well towards this particular goal. So the second word or the second letter on the SMART methodology is measurable. I'm just going to read it out for you and speak to it. So measurable is establishing criteria to measure your progress and success. Quantify your goal to track your achievements effectively. right? I remember we planned a trip once to Ireland, and we had decided a whole year in advance to then say, look, in November, we're going to be traveling to Ireland for 2 weeks, right? And in terms of tracking and measuring, we had to first understand, okay, fine, how much are we going to need in terms of travel? How much are we going to need in terms of miscellaneous expenses, accommodation? But luckily, we didn't have to spend on accommodation because we were visiting family, which was great. But in terms of measure, what we did is to then sit down every single month to then say, how far are we from the target that we set for ourselves? And if we are falling short, what are we going to do to catch up on that particular goal, right? If at all maybe an emergency happened and we had to spend money, how are we then going to try recoup and catch up on that? Because if we don't, it's going to leave a very big gap by the time we try pay for the tickets, right? And there was a target date in this case on when we're paying for those tickets. So we are able to track and say, you know what, month 1, month 2, month 3. By the time the month comes where we're supposed to pay for the tickets, it becomes very easy for us to check that box, right? So I don't know what it is for you, but I want for you to quantify your goal, for you to be able to track your achievement effectively. And going back to the health goal, if you say, you know what, I want to lose 10 kg in the next 10 months, I am able to know that my starting point is the weight that I currently have, right? And then obviously my end point would be less 10 kilograms, right? And with every month, if at all my goal is to lose just 1 kg, I am able to then ask myself, okay, fine, what are we doing to get there, obviously, right? In terms of specificity, I am going to be working out every Monday to Thursday. There goes my dog. Monday to Thursday. One at a time. Okay. Monday to Thursday. Okay, guys. Yeah. Monday to Thursday, but in this case, I am able to then at the end of the month stand on the scale to check my progress, right? And if I haven't reached my goal for that particular month, if I fail to reach that 1 kg goal, I am able to then sit down and then reassess to say, maybe the strategy that I put in place for the month of June did not work. What am I trying? What am I doing differently for the month of July, right? And then a third word, rather, I'm actually panicking about the time. I don't want this to be too long because I'd want for you to also go back into the workbook and do the reflection for yourself, right? Which is the biggest part of this program. So the third part is achievable. Ensure your goal is realistic and within reach. Set challenging but attainable objectives to maintain motivation, right? The example that I like using for attainable is if, let's say you want to become a millionaire in the next 10 years, right? And maybe you are selling and you are in business, or you are enterprising maybe through your work, right? And there's the salary that is attached to you every single month. So if you say, look, in the next 10 years, you want to become a millionaire, how much are you going to save? We can actually calculate how much you're supposed to save every single month because we know how many months there are in 10 years, right? And we are able to then commit to then say, you know what? We are living frugally for the next 10 years. We're saving up to become millionaires. And then some, because in terms of saving, there's so many avenues that you can actually use for you to enhance your yield, right? Finance girly in the house. But yeah, so even for such a goal, it would be unattainable if I set the goal for myself to say, you know what, in the next 10 months, I want to be a millionaire, although there is no active stream that I can actually tap into that will get me to that goal in that set period of time, right? So let us make sure that the goals that we've set for ourselves are attainable. And in terms of motivation, in this case, is to then say, if you are committing to work out at 5 a.m. in winter, and you know that you're struggling with waking up, that is unattainable. So what I have been doing personally is going to work out after work, which has been working superbly for me, right? So what are those areas of your life where you have to reassess and say, you know what, Gorata, in this area, this particular goal is unattainable. Imagine if one of my goals, I remember in my before 25 list, I had run a marathon, right? Because I'd never run a marathon, I can't all of a sudden say I'm going to run comrades. It is not attainable, right? So I'd want for you to put yourself in the hot seat and really think about those particular areas where when you look at this goal, you're like, nope, this is not attainable, right? And figure out a way to make it attainable, because ultimately maybe you're putting the big vision for the short term, and maybe it's then to reword it and make it a short-term goal, and take that goal that you've put and put it as the bigger vision, right? Something that you're looking towards, right? And then the last two are relevant. And relevant says align your goal with your values, your priorities, and long-term objectives. Ensure it contributes to your overall vision. I am tempted, and I think definitely I am going to do for the next 8-week program a program around values, because I usually think if you ask someone what are your values, we've never really been taught how to articulate that. Personally, for myself, I have to go in and look for the word and understand the definition of that word, right? So in trying to figure that out, what that does is that even as you sit down and set your goals are aligned to who you are, what you value, and where you seek to see yourself, right? So I would want for you to make sure that there is alignment in terms of the bigger vision that I asked you to envision at the beginning of this program, to then say, where do you see yourself in the next 10 years, right? So I'm just going to take us through the last part and then chop this and then move us to the second methodology. So the last letter in the word SMART in this case is time bound. Time bound says set a deadline to create urgency and focus. Define a time frame for achieving your goals to stay on track and committed, right? And personally for me, I think I've seen this work in my professional journey where we have targets at the beginning of the year, and what I love about targets is that you can actually break it down. If at all my target is 10, I am able to break it down to know that for each month, how many am I supposed to accomplish? And for each week, when I start my week on Monday, I know where my focus is. My focus is not scattered. So even for yourself, I'd want for you to give yourself that kind gesture of setting a deadline to then say, but for this particular goal, when is it attainable and realistic for me to actually achieve this particular goal, right? And I think just to pause there, I'd want for you to take time to, if you need to go back, rewind and take it back, to really then take one goal out of the list of goals that you've set out in the last session, to then unpack that goal, to then say, when I look at this goal, is it really specific? Is it measurable? Is it attainable? Is it realistic or relevant to me? And lastly, is it time bound? I'll see you on the other side. All right, great. So for the second framework, or the second methodology that we are going to be reflecting on, this particular one I've never personally applied for myself because I love the SMART methodology. I'm a bit biased there. But I hope that you will be able to try it out for yourself. I think I will also try use it to assess my personal goals as well. So it is called the OKR framework. And the OKR is also an acronym, an abbreviation for objectives and key results. And I remember when I started my business, there was this term that always stood out to me. Excuse me. There's this term that always stood out to me. Just checking my mic. And the term was SMART outcomes, right? And in thinking about SMART goals, when I'm looking at this framework, I think it's then to say SMART outcomes, right? So taking that SMART methodology, but then now looking at your goals from an outcome-based perspective. In organizations, the key conversation would always be, what are the key performance indicators in this case? But then even for your life, right? I'd want for you to really ask yourself this question, to then say, what are my objectives when I look at this particular goal? Remember, these methodologies are aimed to give your goal structure. So if you were to take one of your goals and put it at the top of a page and then break it down using this framework, the objectives, I'm just going to read it out, what it speaks to, right? So objectives in this case, I'm just going to read this. It says, define clear, ambitious goals that align with your strategic priorities. Define clear, ambitious goals that align with your strategic priorities. Objectives should be qualitative, inspiring, and focused on outcomes, right? What is our objective? Where are we going? When are we going? All of that information helps you define your time, your energy, and resources, and you are able to allocate such appropriately and effectively, right? And strategic priorities in this case, do you have a strategy for your life, right? In this case, then it goes to us now sitting down and laying that plan for the next 10 years. The first video will be very useful for you to then think, to then say, in the next 10 years, what is my strategy? What do I want to see coming out of my life in terms of contribution in the different spaces that you occupy? It could be personal, it could be professional as well. But in all the areas of your life, what are the key objectives that you want to see coming out of your life, right? And then the second part is key results. This one is quite short, so I'll be done very quickly. Key results establish specific, measurable outcomes that indicate progress towards achieving your objectives. Key results should be quantifiable and actionable. Key results should be quantifiable and actionable. So I really like that it's coming together very well in how I conceptualized it to then say this is a SMART outcome, right? When you look at the OKR framework. So as a way of wrapping up today's video for week 2, I am going to leave the registration link on the description box as well for your benefit, so that you are able to register and get the free workbook for yourself, right? We are going to be talking about implementation steps, and I am reading from the workbook actually, but I'm just going to read 5 things that I'd want for us to take up as the key posture moving into this second week of the program, but third week of July. So in thinking about implementation steps, implementing those things that you want, right, and moving towards executing on them, the first thing that I've noted is define your goal, right? Define your goal. What do you want to achieve? What do you want? And today we learned about the SMART methodology, and I'd want for you to use that SMART criteria to filter out your goals so that they are well defined and achievable. Secondly, break down into tasks. Break down into tasks. Divide your goals into smaller, manageable tasks or milestones. This makes them less daunting and easier to accomplish, right? When you think about the grand vision, sometimes it's so easy to get overwhelmed because each and every thing that is tied to the grand vision, there's a particular task that is tied to that particular goal. And when you think about them all at once, I usually call it noise, right? And in self-coaching and coaching that I would probably do with my clients, what that does is really just to refocus your energy to then ask you, but what are you doing this particular week that is tied to your goals, right? And the third thing is create an action plan. Develop a detailed plan outlining the steps needed to achieve each goal. Assign deadlines and responsibility to maintain accountability. I'd want for you to go to YouTube. We are here on YouTube already, and look up Brian Tracy's method of achieving goals, right? I have been doing a course this past week actually on Udemy called Think Like a Leader, and he did touch on how a trait of leaders is actually being able to get things done. And he's the best guy to actually speak on this, on setting an action plan, and that method where I said write a goal at the top of the page and list out everything you have to do. That is from Brian Tracy, right? And then the fourth thing is monitoring progress. Regular review of your goals and track your progress against set milestones. Adjust your plan as needed to stay on course towards achieving your objectives, right? And in corporate, the one thing that has been consistent in the past 7 years is having meetings, alignment meetings every single week to then say, of the goals or of the objectives that have been set before you for the year, what have you been able to complete in the past week? What are the key successes? What are the key challenges? What support do you need from leadership that can help you move the dial? So similarly for yourself, I'd want for you to set up a meeting with yourself. There is a video, I will look for it and put it here, that I did when I came back onto the platform, and I'm hoping that you will be able to honor that appointment that you set with yourself to then say, if I've set an appointment to have a weekly meeting with myself on Monday at 8 p.m., right? That could be a suggestion that you can take up if you haven't been doing it. 8 p.m. every single Monday, sit down with your goal journal to review and reflect what it is you want, and trust. If you do that every single week, you will see results in your life. Trust me. And then number 5 is celebrating milestones. Acknowledge and celebrate your achievements. My mic is still on. Yay! Acknowledge and celebrate your achievements along the way. Not me thinking, I hope that's not too cringe. I hope it wasn't. But acknowledge and celebrate your achievements along the way. This boosts morale and reinforces motivation to continue pursuing your goals. I remember saying to my husband, when I reach episode 100, and I think I need to now bring it to 50. When I reach episode 50, I am going to celebrate. And I think, knowing me, I love giving as part of my celebration. So I'm probably going to be giving something away. So watch this space. Watch this space for a giveaway. I'm definitely going to be giving something away in the line of a book. Just to put it out there, I love giving away books. I think that's, for me, just an amazing gift to give away to people, right? But as a way of celebrating consistency, of having been able to follow suit in terms of the plan that I laid out for myself, I don't know what area of your life you'd want to work on. Remember, in starting something that you haven't been doing, there is going to be a bit of resistance, right? So I'd want to challenge you to say, look, you know what, Gorata, I am just going to focus on my health for the next 3 months. We're going in for consistency, right? And the consistency that you're going to build over that 3 months period, you can actually take and transmute and put it in another area. I'm going to be putting it in that area. I'm learning keyboard. And I don't know what that is for you, but I want to challenge you to then say, out of all the things you want, what specific area can you take and break down using the methodologies that we use today, and then start executing in this coming week, right? So let's move into the closing thoughts, and we will be wrapping up today's video. So in thinking about goals, the key thing is, I'd say, being able to accomplish those goals, right? And in having a framework or a methodology in this case, it gives you an opportunity to have structure and clarity, and it increases the chances of you being able to accomplish those goals. So in today's video, the key takeaway was really centered around getting you to a place where you are able to assess your goals. Are they smart? Do they have results and objectives that are tied to you being able to execute those particular goals? I hope that this video has been helpful in bringing a bit of light, but most importantly, I think the key thing that will always be a thing in my coaching methodology is the so what. To say, Gorata, you've spoken about all these nice, obvious things, but the key so what is how it applies to your life. How are you applying it to your life? And if you aren't, you have wasted time watching this video. And I hope that I haven't stolen away time from you, but added more time for you to be able to reflect on your lived experience and make changes that will actually bring fruitfulness into your own life, so that we move away from just surviving to thriving. I hope that God blesses you as we move into this new week, and may His favor locate you in all things, especially as you will be doing this exercise. Thank you so much for watching today's video. May you be blessed and have an amazing rest of the week ahead. It's goodbye from me.